Okay, welcome back. We are so excited to have Saunders here with us to talk about re-election back in Dallas. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be home. Yeah.
Yeah, so this has got to be such a cool full circle moment because, here you were in high school dreaming about making these movies, and now here you are promoting you into all of the TV stations, and you're doing it.
It's so funny because we just had our 30th high school reunion for Richardson High School. Mm-hmm. That was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And so I flew from there to here, to New York, then back to here, and actually showing re-election to my old high school was incredible. It was very, very meta.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So when you were in high school, like, were you thinking about, how this might look, this moment here?
Well, in high school I had basically two things that I was interested in. I was class president, so I was very interested in politics, and I also did theater. So I was interested in acting and all those kinds of things. So, I think this would have been the dream. Would have been the dream to be making a movie about something that I care about. That's the other thing is because I spent years just acting before I started writing and directing and creating my own content. And I think, I felt a little bit when I was just acting like, well, I'm not really getting to decide the stories that I want to tell. I felt like, a little bit like a cog in a wheel or something. And now to actually be able to tell stories that I care about, like I say, about kindness, about empathy, and bring it home, it really is a dream come true.
Yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, if you could go back and tell your little kid self, hey, this is what you're going to do, I'd be pretty proud.
Yeah, be pretty psyched. And it really is. I mean, just the fact that the timing worked out with the reunion, and the fact that it's opening in Dallas, and the fact that just everything. It really does feel incredibly universally rewarding.
Yeah. And then the next day, you're sitting there all day doing interviews with Tony Dan.
Right? Tony, who I love. Tony's amazing. And again, when I was growing up in Texas, to watch Who's the Boss, I remember sitting there with my feet up, watching him every day, and then, every week whenever that was on, and now to get to do it with him. I mean, look, it's. I think what's important about all these amazing things that are happening for me is I feel like it's giving me a platform to get to spread the love, right? And I think that's the whole point, right? Jimmy's whole arc is that he's going from focusing on himself, and actually spreading it out. And I feel like now that I've been lucky enough to get this platform, that I want to use it to be able to tell people, hey, it's not too late, which is sort of Jimmy's lesson. Care about other people besides yourself, which is something that Jimmy learns. We're more different, we're more alike than we are different. These are all the things that I want to be able to. Now that I'm here, I don't feel like it's about me. I feel like it's about everybody else.
Yeah. Well, now the movie belongs to the rest of the world.
That's right.
So it's like you build up so much to try and get it out there, and now it's for everybody else.
That's right.
And you're getting to hear all these cool things from the Q&As, and probably things that you didn't think about too, right?
Totally. And every time I read, somebody will post something. Today, somebody just posted that they resonated with Jimmy as much as they've resonated with any character and it's like those things are so meaningful to me, because it's like, this is a story about an underdog. It's a story about a guy who doesn't feel like his life has measured up to what he's set his goals to be. And I feel like that no matter where you are, I was reading some article of Sally Field, and she's like, well, I always lost out on every role to Meryl Streep. It's like wherever you are, there's somebody who's the Governor Singh character. There's somebody who's doing it better, right? Yeah. And, I think if we can somehow let that go, remember that we're all on our own mountain, and we're just trying to do the best we can. I think that if that message resonates, it will really be worth it.
Yeah. Well, in those audiences, there are students who were like you and looking up at that screen going, see, I want to do that too. So what do you say to them?
Well, I would say, so I'll look at them. I would say, do it. Do it. I often talk to high school kids or college kids. They'll say, oh, well, my dad says I shouldn't be an actor. It's too hard. You can't make money as an actor. I'm like, well, what does your dad say that you should do? And they say, oh, well, he wants me to be a lawyer. Or I'm like, you think that's going to be an easy job? Like, there's no easy job. You want to be a plumber. You want to be a cement. There's no easy job. Yeah. So you might as well do the thing that you love the most, because that's where you have, I think, the best chance to have success.
That's true. Well, and of course, we touched on it a little bit, but my co-host is Drew Pearson.
Yes.
Our great Dallas Cowboys. Caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
50th anniversary of the Hail Mary. Yes. This is your Hail Mary moment, isn't it?
Yes, and Roger Staubach is an old dear friend of mine. Right. I've known him for years. I interviewed him in 8th grade, and so he threw that Hail Mary. So yeah, this is my Hail Mary, and it feels like we're here in Dallas, and hopefully the audience will catch the ball and we can keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And one of these days we'll get a Cowboys Super Bowl again.
Come on, we've only been waiting 30 years, right around the time of this movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was our last, actually was, 95. Man. That was our last Cowboys Super Bowl victory, so it is all full circle.
We need one on a flat screen.
But I will say, I think the Cowboys' offense looks very good this year. The offense looks
they
good.
Do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Just need a little bit more defense.
A little bit more. Yeah.
Come on, Jerry. All right. All right. Well, part of getting through something like this is all about mindset. And when it's go time, I know you're wearing a bunch of different hats. You're getting behind the camera, in front of it, all that. What do you tell yourself when it's go time to keep you on task?
By the time we get out there on game day, and I do equate it, I'm a huge football fan. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, so I feel like it is equivalent, so like the producer's the general manager and the director's the head coach and the actors are the players, so it is sort of similar in that way. And so when it's game day and we're out there isn't time to be stressed anymore. Now it's just, let's go, let's flow. If an actor wants to change a line, let's do it. If we can't get the light, we got to move the shot, let's do it. Or if, we're running out of time, we lost that shot, we got to improvise. Like, I think it's about being light on your feet, being able to adjust in the moment. All the prep work comes before. The time it takes. I really try to give each job its due. I spent, years working on this script with writing, rewriting, had comedians doing punch-ups for jokes, and then I worked with a coach for a long period of time because, on the day there's nobody directing me. So I worked with an acting coach to talk through the scenes and, and figure out, so I make sure I know what I'm doing, and then, like I say, on the day with the actors, just being present with them and open to whatever happens in that moment. And just try to be as, I say that I feel like tension is the death of good acting. So just being as relaxed as we can be and creating a relaxed environment, that's what I try to do.
Wow, that's so cool. What was that first movie that you looked up on the screen or maybe as a show and thought, I want to do that?
A Few Good Men has always been my favorite movie. Rob Reiner, Aaron Sorkin, wrote this incredible script, and of course Nicholson and Tom Cruise and Demi Moore. And that was a movie that felt like, gosh, this is so entertaining. And so like both this movie and the last movie that I made, people say, oh, they're throwback, they're nostalgic, which of course they are. But I think there's something to those types of movies that are about something, but they're character driven. They're not based on, a lot of these everything's based on IP or, based on a board game or something. It's not that. It's just a story about people. And that's, to me, is what I grew up on, and that's what this is.
Yeah, and then that fun to work in like what's now considered retro, sadly for us. But working with those kids, like some of this stuff must have been pretty funny to them, right?
It's so funny. So when I was writing it, I'm talking to actual high school kids, and I was like, so I'm like, this is a great moment for Jimmy, so we'll just throw a keg party. And someone was like,
what?
Fam don't buy drinks for each other or whatever, however they said it. I probably misused fam. But anyway, I can't remember laughing at that. I put that in the script. And there were so many different things, like that there's no keg parties, that there's no, that 17,000 likes is nothing. That there's so many little things that we had to learn. Obviously, all the gender stuff. That was not part of my high school experience. And so, it's fun to get to revisit it all now.
Yeah, and then of course, even though you're wearing a bunch of hats, you probably had a great time making it.
I loved it. I loved it, and I loved our cast. All these people, they're all so kind and generous. You don't always get that. You don't always get that. And we had everybody that was in it. They're in it to win it. We're shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was hot. There was rainstorms that interrupted almost every shooting day, and we just had a team that was really bonded together, and I think the movie is a reflection of that.
Yeah, and Bex was telling me about a great moment where Tony was misplaced his ukulele and was going crazy looking for it, and it was pure comedy, just seeing him yelling, looking for it. Right?
He played the ukulele every day that he was there, and he was like the Pied Piper. Everybody gathered around, listened to him. Also, like, you got a legend like Tony Danza on your set. It's just fun. And he was there, he was in it, he was great. He really, I can't say enough good things about him and about Bex and our whole cast.
Yeah. And what was your favorite moment making it? Because I know, you're in the moment a lot, but looking back at it.
Oh, that's a good question. Like, is there something that pops out at me that I just loved? I mean, I loved doing the debate, the sequence where we're up in the high school debate, up in the auditorium, and people from the audience were throwing us out questions, and we got to redo it, and it really felt like it was very, like, real politics. Like, we're actually debating, That was a really fun moment. I think Patty Guggenheim is so funny. I can remember one scene where she was just improvising, and I was literally, the kids say ROTFL, rolling on the floor laughing. I was literally, as the director, on the floor laughing. She made me laugh. She was so funny. But all the stuff, Riz, Bex, it's just Natalie. It was a joy.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've had this script for a while, but it's pretty relevant right now. So it's kind of crazy timing for this to come out now.
Well,
right?
it's gotten so relevant. I wrote it in 2020, which was an election year, and my hope was that, hey, if we get everything moving and we can shoot it in 23, it'll come out in 24. So we did all that. We were done. It was ready to go. And then, you know how indie films go. You have to find the right buyer. I didn't want to just sell it to any buyer. I wanted a buyer that would put it in theaters, that would get it out there. And that didn't come out till 25. And now, like you say, I feel like this is the moment. You know, a movie about kindness and empathy and how we're more similar than we are different. I feel like of all the, since I wrote it till now, this is the moment.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, and even though it's made for entertainment, there's still a lot to talk about here, you know. And I think you've probably seen that in your Q&As. But what is it that you're hoping that people will kind of latch onto besides that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that. It's empathy.
Yeah.
It's kindness. It's let's look. Tony says something to my character where he says we have a sacred responsibility to ourselves, to ourselves. So we can't just give up on our lives, you know. And look, we all sort of, I think, certainly I know this, you know, we can hide behind the sort of familial obligations. Oh, I'm doing this for somebody else. I'm doing this for my mother. I'm doing this for my father in this case. I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for my wife, whatever. And then, so I'm not going to pursue what I need to do because there's not enough time. I just got to do this thing. But what you're doing in doing that is you're sacrificing yourself. And we have a sacred responsibility to ourselves. You know, and so I think what I'd like people to take about it is that your life is precious. I'll say again to the camera, your life is precious. You have a responsibility to yourself. And then once you get that platform, you know, if you're lucky enough to get a platform, then we can spread these positive messages about kindness and empathy and all these other things. So I think that's what I hope people take out of it.
I love that. And I know you're probably already thinking about the next movie, right?
Yeah, so I'm working, so Rizwan, who plays Governor Singh, he and I are doing a show about, so he and I are in a poker game together. We play poker every week together. And so we are doing a show about Jews and Muslims that play poker together called Poker Sunday. And you know, that's, I think, again, the same idea of talking about these big issues, but doing it in a fun, light way that everybody could hopefully get behind.
That's so cool. And it's important to note that people should see this in the theater. I know, you know, it's great at home too, but you know, it's important to, it might seem obvious, but why is it so important? I think because some people don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's about community. It's about, you know, I think comedies are very funny in a theater. You know, not to say that, you know, if you live in a place where it's not playing and you're going to get to watch it eventually on streaming, then, you know, that'll be great too. But I do agree that in the theater, there's something really special about, you know, just the community aspect of people laughing and joy. It's how we used to watch movies in 1995.
That's right.
You know?
Good. Well, last thing, of course, you know, we're excited to have you in town. What else do you get to do when you get to come home? Anything
well, I always eat at Mi Cocina, which is my favorite. Last night I went to Mia's, which is, you know, Mi Cocina's mom. I love to eat Tex-Mex, and, you know, I went back to my old high school. We went and watched the Eagles play, and you know, if I can do any Cowboys-related things, I will. But, you know, I just love walking through the old neighborhood in Richardson and just being home, you know.
That's awesome. Well, welcome home. Thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I would tell everybody